is Sactown Sports.
Stiles and Watkins, as you just heard, Alan Stiles announce his exit from the show. He's got some business to take care of. Hopefully he has a good, safe weekend. Hopefully he had a good Halloween yesterday. And joining us, filling in for Alan, at least just for the segment. Appreciate his time. Mark Haynes of the Sacramento Observer. Looks like he's enjoying a nice little outdoor day. It's the sunshine's kind of past us, but that's not stopped Mark from enjoying out the Sacramento sunshine. Mark, how you doing today? Thank you for joining us, man.
Hey, Watt, man, I'm doing good, man. And like you said, man, I'm soaking in this nice day we have out here because I don't know when we go get this back, but
yeah.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Absolutely,
man. Anytime. Hopefully it's the first of many. Let's start things off. I mean, the Kings this season so far obviously have a couple games this weekend, one tonight and one tomorrow as well against some easier teams. And that's where we're going to start today is 2 wins against 2 good teams, or I guess you could call them better teams in the Western Conference this year, in the Lakers and the Wolves. But then two wins against some of the inferior opponents, frankly. I mean, you get the Blazers win, and then the Utah Jazz so far this season have looked like one of the worst teams in the NBA. Do you think that this is a sign that this team is more middle of the pack than what we anticipate, with the 2 losses coming to the better teams and then just kind of beating up on the bad teams? Or do you think that that's just kind of unfortunate scheduling and the Kings, we don't really know exactly where they're at right now?
I think I would go with the second part. I would say it's just due to the schedule. I think it's a good sign that they are taking care of the teams that they should beat. We knew the Lakers would be a tough opponent for them. We knew Minnesota is going to be, somewhere in the top of the West. So them are 2, solid teams that, it could go either way. We'll see them again later down the road. But when you play, Utah and guys like this, you have to get those wins. Those are wins that you can't let slip by, because that's, as we seen last season, that's kind of was the separation. Although Malik Monk went down at the end of the year, when you look back at the schedule, you look at all those games they should have won, they lost them, and it hurt them in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Mark Haynes of the Sacramento Observer joining us. Mark, what has really stuck out to you so far about DeMar DeRozan and his impact on this roster so far this season?
Well, I thought DeMar would be a really, really good fit, but I don't know. I don't think I seen him clicking, so quickly as from the jump. He's going to score the basketball. He's doing a good job of last season and throughout his career. People always talked about him, defensively potentially being a liability. And, he's leading the team in steals right now with two a game or whatever. So he's competing on both ends. He's, he's being, the DeMar DeRozan that, we've seen him be in the past. And, that's a good thing for the Kings moving forward, because I imagine only things will get better for him moving forward.
Mark, the other day we had De'Aaron Fox surpass 10,000 points for the Sacramento Kings and for his career in general. We, and I say we, Whitey and Drapes did a list this summer of the 40 best Kings of all time. I want to say off the top of my head, De'Aaron was top 5. Just in general, I mean, where do you put De'Aaron standing right now amongst the Sacramento specific Kings greats? And do you think one day there was tons of talk this weekend about D Wade's statue being unveiled? Do you think maybe one day De'Aaron might have a statue right next to that piglet thing that's out front at Golden One Center right now?
Well, obviously, if he's able to bring a championship to Sacramento,
man,
it's a no-brainer. He has to get a statue, and that would solidify him as the greatest Sacramento Kings player of all time. And top 5, yeah, that's for certain right now, especially with all the accomplishments he's had, on the court from a statistical standpoint. But in order to, just curious, who did they have number 1?
I believe it was Webb 1. I think Mitch was 2. I want to say De'Aaron might have been 3. I can pull it up for you. If I'm not mistaken, Peja or DMC might have been wrapping up the top 5, but it was definitely Webb and Mitch 1 and 2. I believe Webb was 1, Mitch was 2, and then I can't remember if DMC was 3 or if De'Aaron was 3, but I'm pretty sure it was DeMarcus, De'Aaron, and Peja that wrapped out the rest of the top 5.
Yeah, see, I think y'all spot on. I think, this is kind of like, when we seen LeBron or whatever, when he first came out and they'll say he'll be the next Michael Jordan. And then he started creeping into the conversation and whatnot. I think De'Aaron hitting his 10,000 mark put him right there. I would put him at 3 as well, thinking about those guys. But it put him right there for, being able to take that top spot, with a few more accolades and, get deeper. Really, and you think about it, all he really need is one deep playoff run and get to the conference final or get to the finals. If he makes it to the finals, he will be the greatest Sacramento Kings ever.
Yeah, I think that's really the thing that he's missing, right? Is just the deep playoff runs. And, Webb, obviously, that team got about as close as you can, 3 wins in the Western Finals. And obviously we know how that ended up going. But it feels like De'Aaron is definitely at the least on track and leading this team to the playoffs, multiple playoff seasons, definitely. It only helps his case. And as we talk about, deep playoff runs and depth in general, a lot of talk about the Kings and their rotation so far this season, whether it be Keon Ellis or Trey Lyles and how he's playing so far this year. How do you feel about the Kings bench so far? Because I think a lot of the conversation so far through 4 games has been, like Malik scores and Keon, if he gets minutes, is going to be impactful, but Trey Lyles, again, isn't really hitting shots right now. How do you feel about the Kings bench? And, realistically, I mean, is it good enough, you think, to make a deep run, or do you think that that's maybe where they're going to address something by the trade deadline?
Yeah, and I know, yesterday was Halloween, so we're past the scary day. But no, it's very scary for the Kings and how the bench has looked thus far. And it's not that I don't know if changes need to be made per se. Obviously, you got to figure out. Mike Brown has to figure out a way to get the starters rest, and when they're resting, the bench guys got to give quality minutes, which we haven't got that from them right now. And I think it's for those guys, it's very early in the season. You got Kevin Huerter's back in the lineup, and it's Trey Lyles missed a ton of games last year, and I think Keon was a starter, so it's a lot of people adjusting to new roles, and I think once they settle in, we'll get a better look at how is this a problem or not. But right now, it doesn't look good at all. But we it's early. 4 games into the season. They got the Hawks tonight. That's a good team to get a win against and, get some confidence in your bench players.
Mark Haynes, Sacramento Observer. Mark, you mentioned Keon there, and we're talking about the bench. What are just your general thoughts on the conversation that really dominated a lot of the preseason and training camp with Keon versus Kevin and maybe even Malik, if you're a Malik guy, into the starting lineup? What has kind of been your thoughts really this past year and a half, I guess, on the who should start at that 2-guard spot?
Well, I think it's clear that Malik is the best player out of the 3.
Agreed.
But if if we take Malik off of that bench, now in these first 4 games, obviously maybe Kevin, still has some solid games or whatever, but his role changes with the second well. But you pretty much get nothing, in these first 4 games. So I think Malik is the guy that is necessary. At first I was kind of on the fence about it, but now I kind of agree with Mike. It's necessary to have Malik on the bench. So then you look at Kevin and Keon. It's really a matter of do you want to with spacing and do you want an extra defender on the floor? And also you want I like Kevin Huerter in the starting lineup to get his confidence going, because he struggled a lot with his shot last year, and after the All-Star break or whatever, it was bad. So I like to see him getting going and getting a shot, getting his rhythm. I feel like Keon is a guy. I think Keon is a guy that needs minutes, and he's going to impact the game once he get in. So, I agree with the Kevin Huerter, move because of how versatile Malik Monk is and Keon Ellis.
Mark Haynes of the Sacramento Observer. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. One more for you on the way out, though. Just in general, what are some things you're looking forward to this weekend from the Sacramento Kings? 2 games, like you said, today against Atlanta, tomorrow in Toronto. Is there anything that you're kind of hoping to get answered by the end of this weekend from the Kings' perspective?
Well, I'm actually hoping at least one of these games is like a blowout, just so I see. I want to see the bench play more. I want to see, is this really a problem? Is there, is size going to be an issue? Obviously, Alex Lynn is the long big man on the team or whatever, a 7-footer. But, I feel like we've gotten so big of a heavy dose of the starters, and not even, I'm going to say the 6 starters with Malik Monk being included. We know what we're getting from them.
Right.
It's that bottom half that I'm concerned with, and I want to see. I feel like this is a good opportunity to get some big wins, and they could get some big minutes.
Absolutely, I think that's a great answer. And with the back-to-back, with Toronto and Atlanta, obviously, a blowout would be exactly what the doctor ordered. Give those guys some rest on either end of it, and like you said, I mean, I think Mike Brown said during the preseason and has echoed it a couple different times here. He doesn't really feel like he has a decent grasp on this team, or as good of a grasp as what he would hope on the rotation. And I think, just like you put it there, I think a blowout and an opportunity to kind of give these bench guys a little extended run, I think would go a long way for this team down the line here. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime soon, and hopefully it's still nice outside so you can have your nice little backdrop too.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you again, man. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate you, Mark. Thanks, man.
Hey, bro.
All right. Coming up next, we will preview Saturday's game. Obviously, there's a game today. We'll preview that on the way out of the show, but we're going to preview Saturday's game against the Toronto Raptors, and there's a couple revenge games at stake on Saturday. We're going to tell you about those coming up next. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.